The Chicago Bulls lose Andre Drummond in free agency to the Philadelphia 76ers, and it seems the Zach Lavine trade value is worse than ever. Got to talk about some of the news that has come out in free agency to this point. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you stay in tune with us, man. So the Chicago Bulls lose Andre Drummond in free agency, and this was not a surprise, right? We kind of saw this was coming as Bulls fans. Me and Hayes have talked about it over on Locked On Bulls. We've talked about it here on the Breeze that he was planning to opt out of his deal whenever, right? Opt out of the last year of his deal, and I think that it's tough that you lose him because of the contribution he was able to give you. I mean, last season, you look at his production through 60 games for the Chicago Bulls, was still able to give you 8.5 points, still able to give you rebounding wise 9 rebounds off of the bench, 9 total rebounds and 8.5 points. And that is in 17 minutes of play. You knew that he knew that there was bigger value out there. He's able to go out there and get it with the Philadelphia 76ers, 2-year, $10 million, which is more than he's played for under the Chicago Bulls the entire time. So good for him. Good to see Drum go out there and go to a competitor. I mean, it's tough to like not cheer for these guys when they go to other teams, especially when you've seen them give their heart, blood, and soul to your team. And so it's a good get for Philadelphia. I mean, listen, when you talk about what Drummond meant to this team, I think there's a lot of times where we felt he was being underutilized. I think now out in Philly, he already understands that dynamic, understands how Joel Embiid works. And the best part about it with Joel Embiid is he's able to give him, like I've always said, when he played with Embiid, he was able to give him 15 minutes of real time to rest on the bench. And it's the freshest we ever saw Joel Embiid. And then they went and traded him away in that Brooklyn deal. Made no sense, bro. Made absolutely no sense. Interesting move to me that Philly's, I guess that this is kind of where they started. You know, the long term is Paul George, right? So you got to get the deals done when they can, but it's good to see Drum get this deal done. Excited to see what the future is going to be for him, and hope he loses every time he plays against the Chicago Bulls. Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below on the Drummond deal, the fact that the Bulls lose Drummond. Did you want to see the Bulls re-sign Drummond, or are you kind of all in on the youth movement? Even though, honestly, right, Drummond could have been a piece that could have been a part of that, but we saw the Bulls throw the qualifying offer out there to Adama Sanogo the other day. I would think they probably want him to take some of that responsibility that Andre Drummond had as the backup center off the bench. And listen, Adama Sanogo is a guy that absolutely can. The one thing that I love about Sanogo's game is he just knows what he needs to do, and he doesn't go out there and do too much. That's what you want to see from your backup big man. He may have some opportunity to start a little bit this season if they do end up moving Vooch. We'll see what that ends up being. But to me, the fact that you've got Sanogo right now, a qualifying offer out there, makes him a restricted free agent. If anybody wants to match, they can go out there and they can do so, and the Bulls can try and match a deal. But Sanogo's a guy to me who, you know, he just understands his role very similar to how Drummond did. What do you need me to do? You need me to put the ball back in the hole off an offensive rebound? I got you. You need me to set a pick and roll? I got you. You need me to go down there and defensive rebound? I got you. You need me to block shots? I got you. We saw him do that with the Windy City Bulls. We saw him do that with UConn. And in limited minutes in the NBA, we saw him do that as well. I think Hayes pulled up a stat with the Windy City Bulls. He averaged 6 defensive rebounds and 6 offensive rebounds a game. So I think the Bulls do have a plan for replacing Andre Drummond. I don't think that it's the end of the world that we lost him, but it is a nice piece that you lost. And I'm glad he was able to go out there and get a little bit more money for himself, especially with how they're throwing money around here. Like I said, let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave that 5-star review, man. Y'all know what to do. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love as you always do. Now let's talk about the story at hand, the Zach Lavine story that seems to be breaking the internet today, because we've gotten a couple of reports from a couple of different people, Chris B. Haynes being one of them. And I mean, listen, when you hear, and Bobby Marks being the other, I should say, when you hear the fact that the market for Zach Lavine is so bad that we can't give picks away to move on from Zach Lavine, that we can't go out there and give up a player for players who are being cut right now for Zach Lavine. The two things that we heard, Bobby Marks said this earlier, there is no market for Zach Lavine. They are trying to give him away and attach a first-round pick. I've been told by multiple people, this is Bobby Marks talking of the Zach Lavine trade. Now, first off, I think it is asinine to attach a first-round pick without mad protections on it, right? Like it is, even without the protections. Why are you giving away first round picks like that? That's the first part to me that I really have an issue with here. Because to me, that's bad business. It's not what I want to hear around a Zach Lavine trade. It's not what I want to hear that my front office is doing. Hey, we need to rebuild. We need to go with the youth. We need to start to move things in the right direction. What are you doing? We'll give up a first round pick if you will take this guy off of our hands. It's just not how it's going to be done. Like if you're at that point, it's tough to say keep him, but it's like dude, you know that is not the way to do business, and it just makes no sense. At this point, you're literally just saying take this guy off our hands and we'll help you get better. But what I do think it tells you is that the market for Zach Lavine is absolutely a desert right now. Now, the reason that it is a desert, and I think that the reason that people are overlooking, is because why the heck would I trade for Zach Lavine if I feel like I'm in the Paul George sweepstakes? If I felt like I was in the James Harden sweepstakes? If I feel like I'm in, right, there's free agent names out here who are available that people are looking at that I am absolutely going to call all of them before I call Zach Lavine, before I call you about Zach Lavine. And I think that's the part where people are kind of over panicking here, but why I do think that the market is dried up right now. Zach Lavine is going to be the consolation prize. I've been saying this for 2 months now. He is not going to be the person that teams call first. Teams feel like, right, like Paul George just tweeted out a little while ago, heading on a flight to Miami, right, or to Orlando, right? Like, we know what everybody's going to be talking to Paul George and trying to win the Paul George prize. And then when the Paul George prize is up, if you end up going out and getting somebody else, right, that may be when you want to hear Zach Lavine's name come up. So I'm not surprised by the fact that the Bulls are having a hard time moving Zach to this point. I am surprised by the fact that they're attaching first round draft capital to it. That to me just makes absolutely no sense. I think that's a failure by this front office to go out there and just try to give up on or just be done with it. Not give up, but just be done with the Zach Lavine saga, which I understand it's probably stressful at this point, but you can't just be done and give up stuff to get it out of your face. Please get them away from me. Like, that's not how this works. And so to me, I think that is one where if first round capital is being included in a Zach Lavine trade, that's absolutely not. Unless it's the Portland pick. If it is that Portland pick, that's different. All right. If the Portland pick has been attached to this for so long, right, at this point, it's going to become 2 second-round picks. They're never going to get good. Like, this draft didn't help them, right, at all. So, actually, it did. I'm not going to say that. Donovan Clingan, I think he's going to be a dog in this league, but I don't think he'll be a star, so it didn't help him that much. But to then turn around and hear from Chris Haynes that the Zach Lavine market is so bad that the Bulls offered a Zach Lavine package to the Warriors that would have included Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins coming back. Now, maybe the Warriors are still in on Wiggins, even though we've heard that they're looking to move him. But the fact that teams don't want him so bad that they're like, no, even though we're going to cut this guy, because Chris Paul was waived then, I believe, an hour after we heard this news. We're going to cut this guy, but we don't want your guy. I don't know why the market has fallen to this point. I do think that it has a lot to do with the conversation that we just had, right, about how he's going to be the consolation prize and teams are going to go for other pieces in different directions. But if you have a trade on the table already, do you cut Chris Paul? And maybe, right, to make the Paul George money work, if you feel like you're going to be able to get a deal worked out with him immediately, maybe you do cut Chris Paul to just try and clear some things up for you. And I think that that's smart cap-wise, right? But the fact that you hear that, again, it does go back to the sweepstakes, right? That Zach Lavine can't get traded for Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul, two players that we absolutely know they want to move on from. That is very, very damning of how the league views Zach Lavine right now. That is very damning of how the league views him being a player that is going to impact winning on a team that all the teams they're trying to trade him to are playoff teams. They're not trying to send him anywhere. Like Detroit last year was different, but they're not trying to send him anywhere bad. They're literally like, yo, take this guy, please, and he will help you win in the playoffs. And teams around the league are going, no, he won't. We're okay. That to me is, like I said, it's a very damning statement, and I think that it really shows how much the Bulls have really fumbled this bag when you look back on some of the deals that were available, some of the deals you could have made, some of the deals that you could have gotten back for Zach Lavine. The league does not view him as a winning player, and they are unwilling to be moved at all until 3 or 4 names come off of the board. That tells you so much about the value of the guy that you have paid to be the highest paid player on your team. And that makes it very tough, but we'll see. I do think that Zach Lavine still ends up getting moved. I think that they're like a lot of people have said, like Casey Johnson said, right? There's a scenario where Zach Lavine could be back. But to me, as much as the Bulls are trying to move him, as hard as they're trying to get him out of here, I think that eventually some team will just go, you know what? Paul George is off the board. James Harden's off the board. Sure, we'll take a chance. This is not what we wanted, but we also had this plan in place that we need to go out and compete next year. So we'll take Zach Lavine, but we're not sending you anything that you're looking for in the deal. We're sending you the basis of bases. We're sending you role players at best. We're sending you guys who are over the hill, contracts that are going to come off the books. That's what you're going to get in a Zach Lavine trade. And listen, when you're where the Bulls are right now, I'm not surprised by that at all. But let me know what you think about the Zach Lavine market basically being dead, and let me know what you guys feel about the Andre Drummond signing in Philly. Drop a farewell drum in the comments below. Of course, drop a C-Red in the comments below, man. It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. We'll be covering all the Chicago Bulls free agency news, if there is any, today, and maybe some just of the crazy news that may drop today as well. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. C-Red Nation, stand up. Peace.